Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel, second video of the day because we need to speak. As we speak, looks like, if we are listening, reading all the journalists, the experts, the insiders of Mercato, Pierre Kalulu from Milan to Juventus is that close to be a done deal, that close to become a here we go, kind of a cabal deal, boom boom, undercover and going. Now, the reaction of Juventini will be, Beppe, from Calafiori to Todibo. It was already difficult to digest. But then you go, not even to another lower name, not even lowering a bit our expectations because we were waiting someone else. And then you ask us to go for Kalulu. Beppe, don't try to convince us that you are a big fan of Kalulu. Look, if we would have recorded that video in 2022, and probably I said it here openly on the channel like I did 2 years ago on Twitter, big fan of Kalulu. Big fan of Kalulu. Beppe, big fan of Kalulu. He impressed me when he played that first time against Juve. But unfortunately, we are in 2024. So it would not have been my first choice. A, not B, and probably not even C. So what happened? How did it happen? In my opinion, going in detail, you know it, I'm a balanced person. So I will try to check what I don't like. I will try to check what I like from the player. Are you ready? Maximum of like if you didn't. Please continue to subscribe to the channel, make that channel bigger and bigger and bigger. Breaking news that started actually a bit after midday today with Romeo Agresti that goes with Kalulu accepted Juventus proposal. It's up to the club now. I didn't go immediately with the video because I just recorded the one of this morning and I wanted to see if something more concrete would happen. And when I see what happened this afternoon, looks like we are again living the cabal situation. Nobody knows about it in the morning. Nobody knows about it the day before. You know it at 11 p.m. Italian time. A lot of time we have these leaks about meeting, about contacts with agent. Nobody knew anything. Like cabal. Boom, boom, and then we bring him. Well, he's not there yet. We didn't see from Juventus an official announcement. We didn't see a done deal or a here we go. But all the papers, the journalists, the experts are telling us they found an agreement. Juve player, Juve, Milan, and Kalulu is ready to come. So from that kind of discussion with the player to find an agreement, he has been totally convinced, like Romano is saying, they agreed everything on contract terms and he's really open to move. Milan, at that moment, early afternoon, still 3 p.m., they wanted a permanent transfer, not only a loan, what Juventus was offering. Juventus could offer, at that time, an obligation to buy in case of certain condition after an initial loan of 3 million and 14 a buy option. Then you tell me, Beppe, he's not Calafiori, he's not Todibo. We agree, but Calafiori is 50 million euro. Todibo, 40 plus percentage on the resale. Here we are speaking about 3 plus 14, we are speaking about 17 if Romano was right at 3 p.m. What happened next? And we will go into the player in a second. Openness from Juve to Milan, said by Nico Schira, for the request of an obligation to buy. So, okay. Not only an option, but an obligation. But if we do an obligation, then we go with really difficult obligations. For example, qualification to Champions League and at least 70% of the appearances of Pierre Kalulu. Milan wanted at that time, and we were a bit before 4 p.m. Italian time, they wanted simple condition to reach. But then, few minutes ago, and that's why I'm doing the video now, because we are that close, because it's a breaking news, Nico said agreement between Pierre Kalulu and Juventus for the salary 2.4 per year, contract until 2029, so the first one will be a loan from Milan, and then if everything is okay, 4 years permanently at Juve. One step away to Juve from Milan on loan with an option to buy for a total package of 20.5, bonus included. Milan will also have 10% on the future. So what happened between 3:30, 4 p.m. Italian time and 6:30, so in 2:30, 3 hours, let's say, that Juventus, they said, oh, we want to take the player, you don't have it in your plans, but we are taking a risk because of the injuries, what we will talk about in a second. Obligation is tough. You want an obligation? 70% of apps. At least we are sure. Milan said, but with the rotational way of playing of Thiago Motta, not sure if he will reach them. 14 plus 3, 17. You know what? Juventus said, okay, we increase to 20 million, but we keep the option. We keep the option, so we have no obligation. And that's where apparently, if Nico Schira is right, we found a deal. Now, let's speak about it. Let's speak about that deal. Like Alfredo Pedula is saying, advancing stage, increasingly advancing stage. He said it a bit earlier, towards 6 p.m. Italian time. Thiago Motta agrees for Kalulu. Like he agreed for Cabal. Because both of them, they can play as center back and both of them can play as fullbacks. Cabal, left center back and left fullback. Kalulu, right center back and right fullback. He loves that versatility. Now, one thing is sure, he was not the first choice of Thiago Motta, especially because recently, even this morning I believe, we said change of strategy of Juventus after losing on Todibo. We really wanted to go for a left foot center back that could play in duo with Gleison Bremer. Again, my opinion about Kalulu. I watch him since long because it's a player that impressed me a lot in 21-22. A player that I said, wow, what a player. What a player. With a lot of different skills. I watched him with his first debuts, playing against Juve, etc., etc. I said, oof, that's a beautiful player. And if things are going well, this guy, he doesn't stay in Serie A really long. 2 years, 3-year max, and he's gone. Because he's from another level. The potential of the kid is really, really high. Injuries happen in the meanwhile. He only played 11 games last season, 9-1-1. So 11 games, which are absolutely not a lot. And that's why he's still at Milan. That's why Juventus today could potentially go for him. What about a player? The ID card is 24. So we're speaking about a player born in 2000, in June. So he just celebrated 24. It's a player with double citizenship. France, is born in Lyon, south of France. Quite physical, 182. It's a center back that can also play as a right back. In some games, he even played as a left center back. So that huge versatility of Pierre Kalulu. Player that has a contract until 2027. So you see, it's not that Milan was obliged to rush to sell him. And that they were obliged to also decrease the number. So having a potential option for 20 million, everything included, is not even that expensive for a player of 24 with a contract until 2027. Now, if we are looking at the past season of Kalulu, last season we said it, only 11 games, 370 minutes in Serie A, for example, 45 in Europa League, 90 minutes of complete game in Champions League. Well, we see that the season before he played a lot. He was a key of that Milan of 21-22 where he won the Scudetto with him. The year after, where they didn't do that great, he was really important because he played 34 games in Serie A out of 38, with 10 games of Champions League, 1 Supercoppa game, 1 Coppa Italia. So it's a player that had a lot of continuity and was a real starter of Milan. Unfortunately, huge, big injury. In 2023, he missed 24 games because of torn hind muscle, 8 games because of a collateral ligament injury, 7 games of a muscle injury. That's a lot in one season. A really unfortunate season for Pierre Kalulu. What are his skills if he's fit and 100%? Well, it's a player that is, 1, versatile. We already spoke about it. He's able to carry the ball forward, that is playing on the wings or that is playing in the center. He's able to bring that ball up. It's a player that is physically really strong, but also a really good athlete. He's fast. He has a lot of velocity. Remember when this morning when we analyzed the video about the problems of Gatti, Bremer together and the fact that we are exposed when these balls are going over the defense or under the defense, between the lines, that we are obliged to track back a bit because Bremer, Gatti are not as fast. Well, a player like Kalulu could potentially, partially solve that problem of a fast defender. Now, am I pro Kalulu? If I see the injuries, guys, I'm scared. And I would have been totally against it if you tell me an obligation to buy. An obligation to buy with 70% of appearances, why not? Because 70 is a lot. On more than 50 games, it's really a lot. Now, alone with an obligation to buy at the condition of Milan that maybe wanted to go for 40% of appearances, I would have doubted it a lot. But seriously, a lot, and I would have said no. Do I want Calafiori? Yes. Do I want Todibo? Yes. Do I want to have other defenders before Kalulu? Yes. But all in all, when I know that the money that we are trying to collect from here, from there, is going to cope manners, I told you the strategy changed. If it was extremely important to have a center back in the beginning of the mercato, because of 2 flops, we prefer to secure cope manners. We prefer to invest a bit more on Nico Gonzalez and another offensive winger. Don't forget that we have still that situation of players that at the moment are still not out of the club. So that luxury possibility of paying a lot for a center back, a lot for cope manners, and even having 2 good offensive winger, at the moment they are not serious because we are not able to cash in with other players. And then you make concessions, and one of that concession that you are making, the fact that you are saying, okay, I postpone a bit that big investment in defense, and we will try to grow a Cabal, a Pierre Kalulu. Hopefully he's fit because he has potential that unfortunately the injuries were stopping a bit. Of course, you have consequences. Jallo, you really understood that now it's over. Huh? If you go to Pierre Kalulu, you don't give the chance to Jallo. The guy is saying, oh, ragazzi, I want to leave the club, but I don't want to go on loan. I want to be sold. So possibly we can cash in a bit from Jallo, which would not be bad. And then also Nicolucci Caviglia could be potentially unlocked, one that was in the waiting list for 5 million, more or less. We said always 4 plus 1, could be 5. And it's all profit for Juventus Football Club. With always Venezia that is there waiting for him. Hopefully that we can cash in a bit because I don't want to do other compromises for other players. I want cope manners, I want cope manners, I want cope manners. So tell me how you react about that Kalulu deal. I informed already a bit with Milan fans what they thought about them, and that's why I start to report also in this video plus what I have in terms of idea expertise about the player. Let me know what you think, because that's the most important thing. Not what Beppe thinks, not what Milan fan thinks, but what you think. Here, maximum of like, grazie, forza, Juve.